store-bought potting mix. I'm not against it. I use it in a pinch. But since I have enough time right now before growing season really starts, I'm going to improve this. If you're curious in ways you can zhuzh up this stuff straight out of the bag, stay tuned. Obviously, this is functional in its current state. And I like to think of it like store-bought spaghetti sauce in that, yes, you can use it immediately. Is it the best? Not necessarily. So depending on the resources you have available, I'm going to demonstrate the method I have for improving your store-bought spaghetti sauce. So this one is organic, natural, whatever that means. It's a potting mix plus fertilizer, and yes, it has amendments already in it. So starting out with this one, it was 25 bucks. It was organic and the store had it. That's why I went with it. I'm not going to try to flash a brand too much. It's not a brand I've used in the past, but it's close enough. And I'm really not particular about it. I think as long as it doesn't have styrofoam pretending to be perlite or the major brand I like to avoid, I'm okay with it. Organic is good enough. And this does look like decent soil. Has a good amount of perlite. It's definitely a lighter, like if this wouldn't retain a lot of moisture, I think. So I'm going to add things to amp up its moisture retention. And pretty balanced. I'm not opposed to it. I think I'm curious to see what it looks like when it does have a lot of water and it's forced to just sit with it. Sometimes these store-bought ones straight out of the bag can be pretty hydrophobic, and honestly, for houseplants, nothing is more annoying than that. I would rather it hold on to moisture too much than those ones that like form a shell that is just impenetrable with water. So gonna start with the base of this. I've got a few things I'm gonna add. You don't have to follow the recipe exactly. It's not even a recipe. I don't have any measurements. I'm gonna eyeball it, and everything here is more of a demonstration of a technique rather than a specific formula. So let's get going with it. Start with a 30-gallon tote right here. So this is my spaghetti pot and whatever fits in here. Oh, and before I go dumping this, I need one thing. I'm not in a great environment for doing this. If it's not -10 degrees where you are, I would recommend doing this outside. But I'm going to be using this mostly in the room it's in right now. So rather than having to lug around 30 gallons of this, it makes sense for me right now to just make it here. This area is pretty easy to clean up. It might get a little messy. Airflow, not good. Don't recommend it. But I'm willing to, for demonstrative purposes. I need this done now. So I'm going to do it right now. And if you can do it in better location, by all means, don't do it here. But I would still advise wearing some sort of respiratory, ooh, this is gonna change the audio, some sort of respiratory protection. So for my first layer, I'm gonna add this and basically layer things and then mix as I go, because if I just dump everything in bag by bag, it's going to get like sedimentary layers that even if I go in there and mix around, it's gonna be hard to thoroughly incorporate everything together. So ideally, small batch, mix heavily, another small batch, mix again, third small batch, mix again. And it's gonna be a lot of mixing. So I also got some earbuds. I'm just gonna put some tunes on during that process. So first ingredient, nameless organic potting mix. So next up, I've got some mushroom compost. potting mix has a lot of, like, I don't know if it's moss or coco coir, but I'm gonna add this compost. This looks pretty good. I've never bought this before, so this part of my recipe is new, but it's way cheaper than potting mix. There's some chunks of stick in here too. Looks pretty good. I've also got vermiculite and perlite. Perlite for aeration, vermiculite for water retention, and I really thought about adding in more inputs like bat guano, kelp meal, adding salts, bone meal, but I'm keeping this really simple, and feel free to experiment with however you see fit, depending on what you're growing in here. I want this to be just kind of a basic potting mix for seed starting, so something just in one place, ready to go. A little amped up from straight out the bag. So in goes some vermiculite. So since I just want this to be kind of all-purpose, I'm not going to get overly complicated with the extra amendments. So mostly I want some basic nutrients and then a lot of textural variation. So this has a lot of wood chunks in it. The vermiculite will give it a little bit of texture as well. And the perlite should help a lot. This mushroom compost is pretty nice. It was $6 for that bag, which is, I feel like that's affordable. Compared to the $25 bag of potting mix, if I can stretch it a little bit, it's a good value. So I've got, I should mask up before, but I'll add this in as well. And then I'm just going to give it a mix. And then we'll do another layer. You see how dusty it is. I'm not getting super exact with anything. So now mixing time. I'm breaking up any of these big chunks. And with the mask, I can feel it. I can feel the dust. It's not great. This is looking really nice though. Do I sterilize anything? No. Should I? Yes. At the scale I'm doing this, it doesn't make sense for me to sterilize anything. But I'm not particularly worried about anything. Yeah, you can run into pests with the store-bought stuff, but it's a risk I'm willing to take, and I can hopefully mitigate any issues before they develop into full-blown infestations. I don't know, maybe once this is done, if I do need it for a sterile purpose, I can small batch, cook it down. I've sterilized soil in the microwave. Alright, so this layer's pretty well mixed. It's going to get harder as I keep building, so right now it's not completely done yet. I'm going to add some LAB because I'm me. I should dilute it, but I'm just going to chunk a little in. That's probably more than I need right now. I don't want it to get too wet, so I don't really want to add extra water. The mushroom compost and the soil were stored outside when I bought them, and they were covered in snow. I imagine they've taken on a little bit of moisture already. It feels not dry. And I don't want to get much wetter than that because I couldn't squeeze any moisture out of it, and that's about as wet as I'm willing to get. Alright, so we'll do a second layer of the potting mix. Look how good this looks. I'll definitely be repotting all of my houseplants because they are long overdue. Alright, so second round. I've not even used half of the bag yet. Almost half. Start with that. Spread it a little. I feel like I used about half of this. The first one, so I'll do half again. Break it up. It's not too cold. I've let it sit in my house for a few days since I bought it because if I had used this the day I bought it, it would be so, well, honestly, probably be frozen, but it would be painful to be mixing all of this. So I let it come to room temp for quite a while. I'll tally up a final cost too. The perlite's the worst as far as the dust goes. These are just eyeballs. And I'm not opposed to adjusting this later. If I'm doing it for seed starting mix, I'll probably add coco coir, more coco coir to it. So it starts as an all-purpose base, and then I can adjust it to meet the needs of whatever specific context I'll be using it. I do wish it had a little more wood chip. Like if I had a cactus mix, I think I would add that in. It doesn't seem worth it to pay for wood chips, but I don't necessarily trust my wood chip pile outside since I'll be using these for houseplants. I just don't really want to introduce whatever's living in there. But this is something that I'm just trying to hone in over time and find what works best for me. So now I've mixed that top layer. Now I'm just mixing both layers together. It's gonna get a lot harder on the third round. So mixing it as best as I can while there's a lot of room. If you're familiar with super soil, this is kind of a variation on that. Not an exact recipe. Everybody's got their proprietary recipe, but the method is adopted from that technique. But I'm trying to just make this for everything, not one specific plant. So it needs to be a little more general as far as ingredients goes. Texture is everything for me. I feel like I can't get my houseplants to really thrive if their soil is not texturally in the right spot. When they sell this by weight, it makes the most sense to use the cheapest things they can add to it rather than push for something that actually is a valuable, worthwhile product. Maybe I could start skipping this, honestly. I don't know. It seems more practical for me at the rate I am willing to invest to just buy this because I know it is somewhat balanced and I'm fortifying it with things that won't harm the plants in the long run. Okay, so this will probably be the final one. Or maybe I'll just do a little top. Oh, that's it. wide as I would have liked,
but that's okay. That's kind of thing that I can just add in later also. Especially if I'm using it for seed starting. So I also initially planned on using a bag of earthworm castings for this. I opted out of that just because of the expense. I used to get small bags for like $7, but they only had a giant bag. I have it. I did buy it, but I'm leaving it out of this just to demonstrate the cheapest options. But this 12-pound bag, I mean, it feels expensive when it's like $20, but it takes a lot of worms to make 12 pounds of earthworm castings, and to have them directly in one bag ready to go, I think it's a good value. But I do worm teas anyway, so I think because I will be adding either liquid feed or top dressing for everything that I use this for, it seemed unnecessary to add right now, especially if I'm trying to keep this like a budget friendly upgrade, not so much a total overhaul. So for my total expense, not counting the worm castings, it was $25 for the bag of potting mix, and I used all of it. The perlite, I think I paid like $7 for, but I used maybe a fourth of that, so a couple bucks there. I mean, I would have used more. Let's say I used half the bag. Vermiculite, I think was $12, and it looks like I used half of it, so $6 for the mushroom compost. So this is about 50 bucks. That seems expensive. But for a tub of really nice potting soil, as far as output goes, maybe I'll recoup some of that expense. Gardening's not cheap. I'm not gonna act like it is. And the way I do it is not cheap either, because I like to be really involved in it. And projects like this do add an expense. But to me, I think adding a little magic to the final product is worth it. Speaking of it, forgot more of my potion. Oh yeah, LAB, let's say that's $1 worth of LAB. So yeah, under 50 bucks for all of this. I could get 2 bags of that soil. If I paid for 2 bags of this and they were 25 bucks a bag, that's a value to me. And it's not a lot of work to do this myself, so I'm happy to be able to get my hands in there and know exactly what's in it, and to learn what I can change for next time if I'm not completely happy with it. If you're into this kind of thing, like, I know you see the value. If you're not into it, don't do it this way. That's it. If it doesn't make you happy and if it doesn't make sense financially, I'm not gonna recommend it and say like it's a life-changing thing. But to me it is. So hope you're one that could benefit from this. Thanks for joining me on this process. I hope you can benefit from it. I hope you at least enjoy it, even if you're not going to replicate it, but in a small scale. Hopefully you can transfer these techniques over in a way that suits you. But thanks for watching. At the very least, it's a fun activity on a very cold day, and it reminds me of why I want to be out in the garden come springtime. So to me, money well spent, time well spent, experience loaded. Hope it could be the same for you. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll provide updates on this, and I'll see you next time.